Hi guys, this is week 4 Project Life, and this week things are going to go really quick because I've made it really easy on myself. Over on my Patreon page, I have been playing with a really huge stash kit that I made at the start of the month, and I've challenged myself to use as much of that kit as I can this month, but also to really only use that kit if I can. So this is what I'm using today. I've picked out the sort of Project Life appropriate parts of that kit, and that's what I'm going to work with. I've got a whole bunch of journaling cards and then a whole bunch of embellishments, but I probably won't end up using a whole lot of those because what you can see up there in the right hand corner is some pre-made embellishments that I made. I sat down on Sunday and spent a couple of hours just playing with paper and made a whole bunch of sort of pre-made DIY embellishments, which is just going to make this week so quick. I'm just fussing around with cards here. I've got my photos as normal, and the photos are sort of a bit busy. I'm trying to keep the cards less busy. There were a few sort of striped ones that I really loved, but in the end I've gone for more kind of plainer background cards just because I know I'm going to add a lot of embellishment with these pre-made clusters. So I don't want to add too much busyness with adding stripes and multiple rainbow colors and that sort of thing. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just picking out some of these clusters that I've made. I'm going to add one to a filler card here, and I really liked this little camera one. I think it works nicely with taking photos for the week. And then I'm just going to add a couple to my title card and the 4x6 card down the bottom. I don't want to overwhelm the spread with all of these clusters, and obviously I've made way more than I'm ever going to need for a Project Life page. I do end up, after I finish filming this, I went and made a few little mini pocket letters instead. So having these pre-made embellishment clusters really does make things a lot quicker when it comes to putting this spread together, especially my title card here. The Project Life card that I used had this kind of phrase, I think it just says love in the middle of it, and I was trying to work out a way to cover that up with the cluster, and so you can see a tiny little bit of it down the bottom, but it sort of just looks like it's part of that cluster. And then literally all I have to do is add my week title and my date stamping, and my entire title card is done. So I really loved this. It was just a way of making things really quick and easy. Same with this filler card. I can glue this little cluster down onto this wood grain card, and that's it. It's done. It's all finished. The little embellishment clusters that I made, they're not super bulky. Like, I haven't used heaps of foam, and although they're layered, there's not heaps and heaps of layers in there. I was trying to keep them like dimensional, but also flat enough to put into a pocket page because I knew I wanted to use them for Project Life. So I did need to make them a little bit flatter. So instead of foam, I have used a lot of chipboard, just those sort of like free sheets that come in packaging and that sort of thing. It adds a little bit of dimension, but not a super amount of bulk, which is great because it means it's going to fit into the pocket and not push that pocket out too far. Nothing's going to slip out of there. I decided, since I had made things so easy on myself this week, that I was going to attempt to add a little bit of journaling to some of these cards, and I'm going to handwrite it. I tried writing in sort of all caps rather than my usual handwriting to see whether I liked that a little bit better, and I did. And I managed to make the journaling a little bit smaller, which I think is my usual problem. My handwriting is quite large, and so having the all caps just made it a little bit easier to fit in. Now, in this stash kit that I've created, I have added a lot of things like this Dear Lizzie alpha set that I've had and I really want to use up. There's not a lot of letters left on there, so it is a little bit challenging to come up with words and titles for this page that I've actually got letters for, but it is something that I really want to try and use up as much of this kit as I can, including those sorts of alpha sheets. I've also got some little chipboards there from a very, very old citrus twist kit, and so that's the kind of recipe that I'm using for some of these other cards. I want to add a little chipboard piece. I'm generally adding, I think all 3 that I add are days of the week. It just worked out nicely that the days all fit the photos that I had, and then I'm adding a little title with those alphas. They're such a pretty alpha, those Dear Lizzie ones, and I love the sort of minty color just to add. It's kind of like adding subtle titles on here. Now this is one that I struggle with because I've used up all my teas, and my poor little animals, they were dying. It was so hot. They were just laying around on the floor. They could barely move. So the reality is hot for us is probably warm for most people. So I decided to go from hot to warm. I had enough letters for that. And so I've just added those, and then I'm going to add my journaling underneath directly onto my photo. I'm just using a really cheap gel pen, and I think the reason that works so well on the photos is the same reason that I'm able to stamp onto photos. It's because I print at home. I'm using Canon Photo Glossy 2 paper, which is designed to absorb ink. So as well as it absorbs like stamped ink, it also absorbs the writing ink really well. Now I had that kind of recipe set out, and I had put the chipboard on a different photo. So I moved the chipboard down. It sits on this little photo quite well. These 2 photos are they're sort of combined into one story. So it didn't need the chipboard on there. I just added a little puffy heart into my iced coffee. Their coping mechanism was to lay around on the floor, and mine was to drink a lot of iced coffee. So we got through it the best we could. I'm going to add the same little recipe up here. I managed to have enough letters to write live, not enough to write live stream, but I know what it means. And I'm going to add the little chipboard piece up there. I wondered about adding another puffy heart, but I kind of feel like I've got enough pink spots on there. I've got the pink heart, and there's a pink butterfly on that cluster down the bottom, and I'm going to add a couple of tiny words up here, which I know it's not technically pink, it's kind of peach, but I feel like it balances out that cool and warm. And then that is this page all done. See what I mean about quick? So if you've never created a stash kit for yourself before, I highly suggest giving it a go. If you need any advice on how to do that, the link is always in my description box for my big picture class, Not Leftovers Again, where I walk through the steps of creating your own kit. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there are a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye guys.